The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Reaper Apparel Company. Reaper Apparel offers a casual line of superb fit, finish, and comfort. We design for those who refuse to die slowly and choose to live untamed. For those who aren't afraid to face the dark, for the ones that thrive in it, and for those who can appreciate life through a grim lens. That's Reaper Apparel Company. Go to the link in the description of this episode, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by my own personal merch store, the Stupid Should Hurt merch store. I have hats, I have t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, water bottles, notebooks, you name it, I've got it. The description and the link for that will be in the description of this episode. Also, right now, if you use the promo code WELCOME, I will give you 5% off of your first purchase. That's the Stupid Should Hurt merch store. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Tactical Brotherhood, all American-made apparel, which helps support the Second Amendment. You can also find all this in the description of this episode with the link, Tactical Brotherhood. Part of every proceed does go to helping veterans, as it is a very good cause. All American-made products made right here in Minnesota. Go and check them out. Use the promo code PATRIOT15 to get 15% off your purchase. Now, let's start the show. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. This is, as always, your host, Mike Bono. I got a great guest for us today, but first and foremost, I do have to mention we did just get a new sponsor for the Ride Home Rants podcast, and that is Buddy's Beard Care. Beard oils, beard washes, beard balms. It is phenomenal. I've been trying this out for the past couple of days, and I gotta say, with just a couple of days use of this, my beard has never felt fuller. It has never felt more healthy, and it has not been this smooth, according to my wife. So that being said, go and check them out, buddysbeardcare.com. You won't regret it, and it's Buddy's Beard Care, where size does matter. That being said, my guest today, he is a return guest. We had him on for the Mathews football preview this past summer, but Chris Marsco joins the show. Chris, thanks for coming back on, man.
Having me on, Mike. I appreciate it.
Hey, not a problem. So, since I got to talk to you one-on-one here and not having all the Mathews guys with you here, so tell everyone, where you're from and, kind of where you grew up and a little bit about yourself.
So I currently live in Hallam with my wife, Sarah. We have a 1-year-old son, Giovanni, and dog, Bo, in the house. But I grew up in Cortland, Ohio, up near Mosquito Lake. I lost my dad when I was in 5th grade. Kind of, everyone has a different trajectory in life. Mine was to kind of mature a little bit earlier than most. So I had a unique perspective on things from an early age. I was kind of bullish in high school. I realized I wasn't going to be 6'1" like they told me I was when I was little. So I figured out real quick that coaching, if I wanted to stay around the game, was going to have to be an important avenue for me to, investigate a little bit. So graduated from Lakeview, went down to Ohio University for a year. God bless that place. Harvard on the Hawking is great. I came back home, some family things going on, and, it was a blessing in disguise. My first year at YSU, I kind of made some connections with the football program, and then we all know Bo Pelini made his way through there in 2015, so that kind of started my coaching journey, if you will. I got my first 3 years of coaching under his tutelage and his staff. That was great. Learned a lot of great stuff, met a lot of great people. And then from there, it's kind of funny how things work. I met my future brother-in-law my last year at YSU. His uncle just got the Niles job, so Jim Perry. So I was lucky enough to get an interview with him. Spent my next 5 years at Niles. Larry Kemp on staff, Dom Catrone, Ryan Barrett, a lot of great people, a lot of great football minds. So feel privileged to have spent some time there. And then, young coach trying to move up, make a name for himself. I went on, took a coordinator position at Mathews this past season. Got to talk a little bit in that last podcast, but that kind of catches you up on my football timeline. This will be my 10th season coming up. So I'm excited. I feel very privileged to be around the people that I've got to be. Even from a young age, I was a water boy for Dick Angle at Howland. Got to be around a lot of winning football there at a young age, so I was impressionable. And even prior to that, my uncle was a coach around the time Tom McDaniels was at Harding. So, I got to see Maurice Clarett and whatnot. So a lot of cool, lasting memories. It's really fostered the love for what I do, and I'm just grateful that this has ended up being the life I got to live.
Yeah, man, that sounds like, a lot has happened in just a short amount of time for you, but, you mentioned it a little bit there, but, reiterating, where you went to college and why did you pick to attend that college there, just for strictly schooling?
Where, OU?
Yeah, why OU? Yeah.
Yeah, so it was weird how it worked out. My buddy's uncle was the SI director down there our junior year of high school. And it's a big year for kind of sorting things out, putting out, applications, scholarship offers and all that. So I got to go down there. I didn't know diddly poo about Ohio University. I didn't know where it was, how long it was going to take to get there. And I got there. I go, this is pretty sweet, coming from Cortland, not a big city lights kind of guy. I'm a little more country, if anything. Yeah. So I kind of enjoyed how life kind of moved down there and the backdrop and the setting and all that. And, it's funny. It was the number one party school at the time, and that's like what it's known for. But the academics there, tremendous. There's a lot of, notable alumni, and, I felt very lucky to go there. Everyone thinks, the common thing, back at YSU, he partied himself out. I left there with a 3.8 GPA. I really had it figured out how to kind of balance things out and stuff. So it was a tremendous experience. A lot of good friends from there still and whatnot.
Man, I needed you back when I was in college. I went to little old Bethany College in the backwoods of Bethany, West Virginia, and it was fun time, but didn't take schooling as seriously as I should have in the first couple of years there. Had to do a victory lap of fifth year, as I like to call it. So.
I did a voluntary fifth year. I get it.
Yeah. It was, I always make the joke, and I always tell people, you don't get to be a stand-up comedian because you're book smart. You know what I mean? Like, it's not something that happens. But, you're high school coach now, so, take us, what's the journey been like to getting to, you mentioned it a little bit in the opening there, your coaching journey to get to Mathews. What has that been like for you?
I'll never forget how it started out. So my first game, we were at Heinz Field playing Pitt. Pretty good team at the time. They had James Conner, senior year. Forget who they had a couple defensive players too. They're just tremendous. But we made it out of game. We ended up losing 45-37. But that first series. So I'm up in the box. I got the headset on, taking it all in pregame, watching the bands. I'm a big college football fan. My dad is a massive Michigan fan. He put that in me from a young age. So I've been to the Big House, I don't know how many times, Beaver Stadium. So I'm a college football enthusiast. So getting to be a part of it on the other side in the box and whatnot was extremely special. But I had to chart everything. So they're motioning, shifting, play action. So Bo is very meticulous about his game planning and his strategy. I had 8 to 10 fields I had to fill out for each play, and then he'd go back over it with me when the offense was on the field. I did a real hack-up job of it. I was not ready for it. It was moving way too quick for me. I don't know. It wasn't Matt Canada. I forget who it was. He had just been at Tennessee. I think maybe Jim Chaney. Really complicated offense. So Bo's like, all right, run it back for me, Marsco. What do you got? And I had the tremor in my voice. I remember it vividly. I got lambasted. I've never been yelled at like that in my life besides my mom when I was younger. That was a real good wake-up call, too. Like, hey, this ain't Candyland. Like, if you want to do this, like, buckle up. Like, you got to go right now. In hindsight, looking back, it was a pretty big spot. I could see. I mean, I'm not mad at myself that happened. I don't really know what I would have changed. But that was the first moment where I was like, okay, welcome to the show. Then that first year, you had to do a lot of changing around, whatnot, get the culture in there. But that second year, a lot of great valuable lessons. Didn't have a college break. We went all the way through, played Cooper Cup in the semifinals at Eastern Washington. That was a surreal experience. And then played in the title game, lost to James Madison, but first time YSU had been there since, I believe, 1999. So it was cool to get to be a part of that, kind of see Youngstown get galvanized. It was really cool. We played Dallas Goddard and South Dakota State at home that year, beat them. Like going out downtown, that was a really cool experience, especially as a college kid. You hear the stories about how it was. I mean, you're little. I was a 90s kid, but you're not really paying attention to things like you are now. And to kind of see that for myself firsthand and be a part of it was tremendous. And then, that kind of set me up for going to high school, a bigger traditional program like Niles, a lot of history. Felt very lucky to get to spend some time there, leave my fingerprints on that tradition. But it was kind of hard going back, I can't lie. That first year back in high school, it was like watching paint dry. You don't appreciate, like people think that there's such a big difference, Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame, compared to, North Dakota State, YSU. It's just a number of scholarships. I mean, there's a lot of high-level ball there. I got to coach 2 draft picks in Derek Rivers and Avery Moss, so I got to see some real high-end talent myself. But, no, real blessing. Got to, coach Antoine Gardner, if anyone's in the Mahoning Valley. It's just a big 22 winner, Trumbull County Player of the Year. So got to be around some good players at the high school level also. But, very privileged to kind of have the trajectory that I've had. You got to get some breaks sometimes, make some connections, and I've done that. And I'm just excited. I'm not even 30 yet, just turned 29, and feel like a lot of good experience to kind of hang my hat on for not having a 3 in the tens column yet. So I'm excited about that. Feel very blessed.
Yeah, and just making me feel old on here. You're all right, man. No, yeah. No, but yeah, it's awesome to see somebody that has that passion for the game. Like I played growing up all through high school. I played ball and wasn't the best athlete on the field. I was a habitual backup, kind of that red zone threat at 6'5" as a receiver. When we got inside the 20, they're like, "All right, put Bono in. We're going to throw it up and hopefully he can get up over the 5'9" corner and safety and go and get the ball." So I knew my role and I executed it flawlessly. But also wasn't the biggest guy in the world. I graduated high school at 155 pounds at 6'5".
String bean.
So I was just a string bean. Yeah, I was more of a swimmer than I was a football player. So, but it is what it is. But I've always said I think I would make a better coach than I would be a player because I studied the game, and then I obviously, being the backup, I got to see the game from a different angle and see it on the sidelines and see the whole field and watch everything as it's happening and breaking down and having that trajectory, like you said, and getting that opportunity. I've always said I don't think it's what you know. I think it's who you know in life.
Exactly. You made an interesting point, though. Each year out of high school, you get a little bit better as the stories go on. So I'm a pretty good football player now, as the story has it. But, in school, I was fortunate. I was at Lakeview at a time when Tom Pavlansky was there. We were on a hot streak going to the playoffs, had a lot of really good players, his teammates, classmates, friends, still buddies with a lot of them. But I didn't really get to be a starter. I played a little bit my sophomore year real spottingly, and same with my junior year. But I was behind some tremendous kids who were a year older than me. And I didn't get to become a full-time starter until my senior year. And, to get to be around a coach like that, see how they operate day to day, like you said, you're not you don't have to, you should, but in high school, you got various things you're concerned, worried, spending your time on.
Right.
Like, you're not invested in the game plan like you should be if you're not a starter, I think most people would say. And so you pay attention to the other stuff. And I learned so much, just even the trajectory I had as a player. I appreciated a lot more my senior year than, I think some of the guys that I played with that were a little more fortunate, maybe played their freshman, sophomore, junior year. But that had a lot to do with it, too. Kind of being off to the side, you kind of realize what you're, like you said, know your role. And that kind of helped maybe jumpstart this, too. Now, I didn't go to OU thinking I was going to be a coach. I was going for physical therapy at first, and then big change of heart in October. I said, what else can I do with myself? And I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to coach. I took like a 6-month snooze in my head and went down there for teaching. And that was like the coming to Christ I had. I was in my dorm room. I'm like, I'm not passionate about this at all. I got to find something I'm passionate about. So
right.
That was a big part of it, too.
Yeah, and I've always said, if you find something that you enjoy doing, you'll never work a day in your life. You know what I mean? And
absolutely.
And I say it all the time, and that's why 11-year veteran in stand-up comedy. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of long days. You don't really get too many days off, but I don't feel like I'm working when I'm doing stuff for comedy and stuff like that. So I get that 100%. I want to go back a little bit since we had you on this past summer doing the preview of the Mathews football. How did the season turn out for y'all?
I feel across the board I can speak for everyone in saying that, a little disappointing in terms of where we expected to be, but still extremely proud of what the end result was. We went through a little of attrition. I learned a lot of things going to Division 7. You don't have, the numbers you have in Division 3 or 4 where I started out with high school. So that was kind of a wake-up call. And then, the schedule being as hard as it was, if you go back or heard that show, we were excited to kind of navigate that hard of a schedule, thinking, we had a little bit more depth than we did and whatnot. And, it ate us up. Yeah, I give a lot of credit to those teams. There's some tremendous teams in there, a lot of playoff teams. You got Lowville, Springfield, Mineral Ridge almost beat Mogador. But at the same time, we allowed ourselves to get consumed by it. Proud to say we still did win 2 games, because if you followed the team all year, there were some real low points where, you have kids out there that, they're giving 110%, but much like myself, they weren't blessed with the athletic gene in spades. So, you have to kind of get creative how you're playing chess as a coach. Thought we did that throughout the years as staff. So I'd say that the kids that ended it have created a tremendous foundation for next year, moving forward, second year of the program under Coach Polta. But I'd be lying if you listen to the podcast, I can't look you in the eye and say that I had higher expectations than what were achieved, but such is life. There's no, it's high school kids. It's easy to get mad when it's kids on scholarship or someone getting paid millions. I couldn't be more proud of the kids that we had finish the year for us. We went through a lot of side circus stuff. I always laugh if I ever get to go to a program with enough of fund or side money from the boosters that I'd get a sports psychologist. I mean, there's so many things, going on with kids now that sometimes just keeping their cool and being able to have them where their feet are present in the moment, goes a long way. So learned a lot of lessons. I think we all did, players, coaches alike, but, really proud of what we were able to accomplish when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and at high school, obviously you want to win. You're looking to win, but I feel like if the kids are going out and they're giving it their all, that's going to teach them a lot more later in life than just going through and just knocking everybody down and winning and not having those trials and tribulations that you have throughout a career in high school football and stuff like that. I mean, I remember back when I was playing, we were 5-5 from my freshman year to my senior year, and even then we went 6-4 and snuck into the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like it was like, but just that I remember sitting at my buddy's house for like the watch party when they were announcing the playoff field, and we were like, we have to make it this year. Like we're seniors, we can't not make it this year. We did everything we were supposed to do, and when they said it, and you would have thought we already won the championship just saying we got into the Super Bowl. So having those
just watching the celebration,
just having those years of just I don't want to say mediocrity, but mediocrity at 5-5, and then finally getting over that hump and getting into the playoffs. I mean, it was amazing, and it taught us a lot of like, this is how we have to work to get and to achieve what we want to. And a lot of my buddies from the team are they've moved on to do bigger and better things. I know a couple are lawyers. One's an economist. One went to our quarterback went to the military, played at West Point.
That's beautiful.
So, it taught us a lot, those tough years that you have there, and of course every high school kid wants to win, but it's more important. They'll think about this later on in life, like I am in my mid-30s, sitting here thinking like back to my high school days.
No doubt. And much to your point, I mean, that was one of the things I wasn't wild about with college. There's a lot of money involved in that. There's scholarships, there's contracts, there's a lot of things that, the day-to-day person doesn't think of that, when you sit there, I wanted more of a pure experience, and getting to help leave, your fingerprints in a positive way on someone's life. I think back to my life, I wasn't void of, male role models, but my coaches all played a very pivotal role in kind of creating who I was, teaching me some of those harder lessons. I mean, my mom taught me all the real hard lessons, but, being on time, going all the way, doing extra reps. You learn good things that even to this day, it's like, you know what? Coach was crazy, but everything he said spot on. Like even in teaching, I some of those core principles, it's stuff that you carry with you for your life. So that's why like I said, by the record, it's disappointing, but I couldn't be more proud because I really feel like the kids that stuck it out, they really got their bargain this year because we became a more mature team as we went through the year. We learned some lessons. We learned how you had to take care of your body, how you have to lock in mentally, walk through days of work day 2. It's a lot of good stuff. So core stuff.
You mentioned one thing that I know. I'll touch on this real quick, then we'll kind of move on a little bit. But I'd learned something very quickly, and it was ingrained in my head. Is from my dad all the way up to my high school coaches, they had a rule. It was the Lombardi rule. 15 minutes early is on time. On time is late. If you're late, you shouldn't even bother showing up. I'm 34 years old, and I still live by that today. Like, even showing up to work, I'm always like a half hour early for when my shift starts. Like, my boss called me one day, and I go in at 9, and he called me at 8:30, and he was like, "I know you're not at the office." I was like, "I'm sitting at the office. Like, what do we need to talk about?" He was like, "Wow, you're early." I was like, "Early's on time, man." Like, even today, he called me, and I was still early, but I was only like 5-10 minutes early for my shift, and he called me. I was like, "Hey, man, sorry, I'm running late." He goes, "You don't open for like another 10 minutes." I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm late for my time." Like, I'm late for my time. So,
your standard. The standard is the standard.
Yeah, and they appreciate it. You know what I mean? But yeah, like that made me think like that's been ingrained in me since I was in junior high. Early's on time. On time is late. If you're late, don't even bother showing up. So, yeah, those core values that stick with you a lot later. But I need to know this, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of good stories with this kind of wrap-up topic here a little bit. But you've gotten to coach with former guest of the show, Drew McLaughlin. What has that been like?
It's been a fun experience. Really get along with Coach McLaughlin well. I've learned a lot more about Lowville, getting to coach with him. Everyone from down there, they're very proud to be from down there. So you get a lot of good stories. I've learned a lot about the culture down there. Went to my first Lowville festival this summer. So I feel like I've got to partake a little bit in what's going on down there near the river. But no, it's been great. He's a great guy. I've got to pick up some things from him coaching, as I hope he's got to from me. And I'm excited just kind of where we both are. We have similar paths that we blazed for ourselves, and I feel like just kind of the natural turnover that's going on in the area with some of the coaches, whenever it is, probably each get our chance to be in the limelight like that, and or the sunshine. And I don't know, I'm excited to see where we go. That's the fun thing about being this young. You look at people like Bill Bohr, and they've done it for how many years, and to think that it's my 10th season already, but I'm only 29. That's kind of exciting what you could do with the experience and age combo, is I'm sure he's thinking too. So fun time getting to coach with him.
Yeah, absolutely. We love Drew here on the show. He's been on a plethora of times, and I'm always looking for good stories when it comes to former guests of the show.
I don't want to get into anything too deep.
No, you're good.
What they say is true. he could get after it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He's still got that college gene. He ain't that old yet.
No, yeah. I mean, he made me feel real old when we were at Johnny's wedding this past couple months ago, and yeah, we were there, and I was watching him, and I was just like, man, like I'm hurting just thinking about doing everything he can do.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because I'm so much fatter than he or what, but I don't have the bounce back he does. I don't know. My gray hair must be a couple shades darker than his, because I can't do it like he can anymore.
Yeah, it was even the morning after, getting up and everyone's leaving the hotel, and I looked at him and he's kind of like just still bouncing around, and I was just like, man, this is a 2-day recovery for me. But it was a lot of fun.
Get your sea legs back under you.
Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. But yeah, it's great to know him, and glad you had a good experience with him.
Absolutely.
And that for sure. And was glad to hear, that you had some positive takes over the Mathews season and everything like that. Because I do follow everybody that's been on the show, sports-wise and everything like that. My phone never stops going off with updates and stuff like that. And I was glad to follow you guys and see, kind of, and hear the positive news that happened after that. But I do got to get this segment in here, Chris, before we end the show, because we are wrapping up here near the end of the episode, and that is the Fast Fitty 5. 5 random questions from the wonderful manager of the podcast, Johnny Fitty Falcone. He sent these to me today. You've been on before. I don't think we had a Fast 5 with the Mathews preview, but kind of rapid fire, but you can elaborate if you need to for the new listeners out there. If you are ready, we can get going.
I'm ready. I can't wait. If Fitty came up with them, I'm ready. I had to sit up in my chair.
Yeah,
I'm ready to go.
Absolutely. Because the first question is the doozy. Okay. Question 1. What would be more terrifying to see, a Myrtle, half man, half turtle, or a real-life T-Rex?
Probably a Myrtle. Because I feel like T-Rexes existed, so I'm Myrtle.
A Myrtle, yeah, that's Myrtle. Yep. That's off the rip. He's starting with that. All right. Question number 2. If someone got married at 1 p.m. and then had their reception from 3 to 7 p.m. in the afternoon, what would your thoughts be on this?
I hope they don't expect me there at 1. I'd probably show up around 3:34. I'm cool with it. You do you, but I hope they don't expect me there at the beginning.
I don't understand that question.
Uh-oh. Is that Fitty's time?
No. He was.
Okay, I was gonna say, I better be careful what I say.
No, he was a little later. You're good. Yeah. Question number 3: Is cavatelli or gnocchi better?
Ooh. Oh man. Yeah, that's a good Italian question. See, those are probably 2 of my top 3. I'd have to say cavatelli because of its availability. It's more available. I am a hidden gnocchi fan, though. I eat it quite a bit. Love the sinkers. They hit heavy.
Oh, absolutely. My mom makes a homemade gnocchi for the holidays. I cannot wait for Christmas. I cannot wait. Question number 4. If all the flamingos in the world waged a war against all the mice in the world, who would win?
I'd say the mice. Low man always wins. They'd be able to, take advantage of leverage. I think the flamingos would have a really hard time. That webbed foot's not really, a lot of weight. I'm taking the mice. Low man wins always.
I love the sports reference to that too as well. That's phenomenal. All right, last question here. What is more impressive? Speaking 5 languages that are not your native language, or learning to become a professional piano player by just listening and never reading music?
Now, knowing how bad I was in foreign language, I'd say that the languages were harder. And I'm an auditory learner too, so I feel like I maybe have some success with playing the piano. But man, I don't know. That's hard. You get to that real high level stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go speaking the 5 languages. So just because of my experience, that was poor. Antonio was not good in Spanish. I was in trouble a lot.
Nah, you're good, man. I'd have to go with the languages on that one too. I have to answer that one because I taught myself how to play the guitar at a young age, just from listening, and I don't know how to read music to this day, and it's still it was hard, but 5 languages. I failed at Spanish in high school and Italian in college, and I'm Italian, and I didn't do well in it. So
yeah, I wonder how I'd do an Italian class too. I know all the Italian slang from my uncles and all the family parties. I don't know if anything that would show up on my quiz.
Yeah, absolutely. Quick story, and then we'll wrap up here because we brought it up. I still remember my first couple days of Italian classes in college. Is the professor asked me now I know everyone knows the bad words that everybody says, the curse words. We're not going to say those in here. He goes, but does anybody have any other questions? And I come from a very big Italian family. My great grandparents were straight off the boat. They spoke very broken English. So I learned a little bit, and I was like, I gotta know because my grandmother says this all the time. I know what the words mean separately. I don't know what it means together. And she would always say "State zitta face," and I said that to him. And you're laughing. I know what it means now, and I was like, I don't know what that means. And he goes, in layman's term, your grandmother is telling you to shut your face. That is.
For how we're going to talk in this classroom, that's enough.
Yeah. He was like, he told you to shut your face. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Yep. Because we always knew when grandmother lost English and went to Italian, it's time. She's telling you she's no longer responsible for her actions. That's what.
You're in trouble. Yep. That was like signing the waiver. She's cleared. She's absolved.
Absolutely. But that just reminded me that always makes me laugh when I think of that. But Chris, we are running down near the end of the episode here. I do give every guest this opportunity at the end of the show here, so I'm going to give you about a minute. If there's anything you want to get out there, anything that you have going on, or even if it's just a good message, I'm going to give you about a minute, and the floor is yours, man.
Cool. Yeah, I teach in the resource room out at Lordstown High School, and my kids always ask me what I'm doing, so I brought up the podcast. I told them I'd give them a shout-out if I had a second, so shout-out to everyone in Mr. Marsco's class at Lordstown High School. As the holidays approach, just, be generous to one another. Don't be hateful. I always said I went through a lot of dark times when I was younger, trying to navigate things without your dad being around. And, there's nothing worse than the feeling of being lonely. So, reach out to someone you haven't talked in a while, check on them, see how they're doing. Mental health's a big deal around this time of the year, and just spread love. Life's too short to hate. My wife's grandfather told us in the wedding video, and I still say life's only a minute long. So treat it as such. It's too short to hold grudges. So be a dove, not a hawk.
Man, I love it when people end on a good message. I'm all for helping people promote and get anything out there that they have to get out there. But when it's a good message, I almost hate to have to do a sponsorship read, honestly. When it's a good
I appreciate
message.
you.
I hate to have to do it, but I do. That being said, not to ruin Chris's message there, but everybody, if you enjoyed this show, we do have a support page and a Patreon page where you can see the video of every episode here. I'm also giving away at certain levels of the Patreon page free merchandise that you can get every 3 months for the first year that you are a member. It starts low with just like a postcard, and it goes all the way up to a full-size poster that you can get for free just for being a member of the Patreon community. Helps us support the show, helps us keep this podcast going, and helps us keep rolling. So I'd appreciate it if everyone could go and subscribe. I will also give you a full week free before you pay anything to make sure you're going to like the content. You get a lot more exclusive episodes, behind the scenes, unedited versions of the podcast here, so you get to see all of my mess ups, how many times I say throughout the show, and some good laughs that we have behind the scenes too as well. So be there and check that out for sure. You will not be disappointed. That being said, that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. I want to thank Chris Marsco for joining the show today. This was a lot of fun to reconnect and touch base with you and see how everything was going and to hear your story and everything like that. As always, if you enjoyed the show, be a friend, tell a friend. If you didn't, tell them anyways. They might like it just because you didn't. That's going to do it for me, and I will see y'all next week. The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by W Energy. Energy drinks made for gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. For gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. Go to the link in the description where you can find the best energy drinks out there. Less caffeine than a cup of coffee. Also, no jitters and no crash afterwards. Use the promo code Mike Bono and get yourself 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by my favorite sponsor of the show, and that is Shankit Golf. Golf apparel made for the everyday golfer. We might not go out and shoot a 6 under par. We're probably going to shoot a 6 over par, but this is going to give us the gear that's going to help us rocket on and off of the course. Go to the link in the bio, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get yourself 10% off there as well.